hello, welcome to Seeing Through Glass. Now, about 10 days ago, I got one of those emails I had to reread about 4 times to make sure it was real. It came from the team at The Market by Bonhams, an online car auction site. And they said they had a collection of cars about to go live, and would I like to film them before they potentially sold? The cars in question, a Jaguar C, D, and E Type. Arguably the most iconic and important cars Jaguar's ever made, let alone the automotive/motorsport world has ever seen. Even better, all 3 cars have matching green paint. Just like this Jaguar F Type. So of course I was like, yeah, I'm on my way. Now, frustratingly, today's weather's a little bit all over the place. I've been driving for about an hour and we've had thunderstorms, sunshine, wind, rain, everything you can imagine, basically, which means I don't really know what to expect from today's opportunity. Am I going to be filming the cars statically at the Market's warehouse? Potentially. I'm going to be driving 1 or all 4 of the cars back to back, also potentially. I don't really care though, because it's so rare to have a Jaguar C, D, E and F Type all in the same place at the same time, all with green paint, that today can't be anything but truly epic. I think I have died and gone to Jaguar and historic racing and just car heaven. Look at this, it's absolutely breathtaking. Over the years, I feel like sort of a number of times I've completed life, or at least completed automotive life. Sort of amazing moments that have made me think, well, that's it now, I might as well retire, just go lie down, because what else is going to happen that's going to be any better than this precise moment? And it feels like this moment is one of those occasions, because yes, this is so unbelievable. These cars, so important for all of us as petrolheads, but of course for those of us who are also Jaguar and sort of British racing fans. The C Type, Jaguar's first victory at Le Mans, but also revolutionary in the development of disc brakes, something that we all use on our road cars today. The D Type, monocoque design, something which supercars still use today. The E Type, arguably one of the most beautiful and iconic sports cars of all time, and the F Type, a car you know I absolutely love and obsess over. So yes, seeing them all together, all in green. Yes, I'm going to keep hitting that home. I know green is like so hot right now, but it's also an iconic colour for historic racing cars, British racing cars. So it's just, I'm going to stand here for a few more minutes just taking this site in before I talk you through each of these cars, because I just don't know when anyone is ever going to see this again. It's amazing. Now, just in case some of you don't know, I'll just clarify that from left to right we've got C Type, then D Type, then E Type, and then F Type, which of course has very kindly been lent to me by Jaguar themselves. The 3 cars on the left make up the Swan collection, which is going up for auction at the Market by Bonhams, and it's these 3 that I've really come to focus on today. Actually, if I'm honest, it's the 2 on the left that I've really come to focus on, because I have had sort of quite a few experiences in the E-Type over the years. I kind of know what it's all about, and whilst this one is stunning, I've basically never experienced these two. The C-Type, never even sort of been up close to a C-Type before. The D-Type, I have actually ridden passenger in a D-Type before, but never driven, so I'm really hoping that this rain holds off and I can do that today. And then yes, these two will sort of leave for now because I'm pretty much living in the F-Type, so I don't really need to talk about it too much more in today's video. Now, to clarify, these two aren't actually original Jaguar cars. As I'll go on to explain, so few C and D types were made back in the 50s that very few remain, and any that are remaining are extortionately valuable. I'm talking about multiple millions of pounds. So over the years, lots of different companies have sort of, recreated them, including Jaguar themselves that are now doing the continuation program. So it's very common to see recreations, and some of them are fantastic, and these two are fantastic examples. The C Type is actually built next to a 1953 C Type that Duncan Hamilton drove. If that name rings a bell, by the way, that's because he's the grandfather of fellow automotive YouTuber Archie Hamilton. But yeah, so this is really a like-for-like copy, a bit like that 250 short wheelbase I drove from GTO Engineering. I just love, for example, the detail of that badge. How cool and old school is that? The D Type is from a company called Lynx, sort of one of the most renowned Jaguar or historic Jaguar builders, I suppose. Very desirable, the Lynx cars. This one looks absolutely amazing. I'm loving the green leather inside, but yes, I cannot wait. There's something about me that just thinks I'm going to fall in love with the D-Type. Obviously, the inspiration for my beloved F-Type Project 7. So yeah, that thing is very cool. There we go, as I mentioned. The E-Type, which is a slightly different green actually to the other three. The F-Type, the C and the D-Types, all pretty similar in the hue of green. The E-Type slightly different, but nicely has a matching tan interior to the F-Type. That's a Series 1 car, looks very, very nice. I just love these old classic wheel designs. Like, okay, fine, that's got some racing steelies on it, but these wire designs, I mean, look at that, how cool is that? It's still dry, which is good because it means my chances of getting behind the wheel of these cars is still high. However, because they're both so sort of open to the elements, I am a bit nervous that when I do get behind the wheel, you're not going to be able to hear a word that I'm saying, which maybe you'll be relieved by, but I just kind of want to sort of get all the stories and the information about these cars out now, or at least recorded now, so that if you can't hear me when I get behind the wheel, at least you know what I would be saying. We will start at the very beginning then with the C Type. So this is way back, early 1950s. Jaguar actually had a rather competitive XK120 at the time that they thought they could improve. So they came up with the XK120C, or as we now know it, the C Type, and here it is. One on its debut in 1951 and then again in 1953. The 53 car, slightly more impressive because it was more powerful than the 51 car, but had, as I mentioned before, these disc brakes, which were revolutionary and a huge step forward for, well, cars in general. It was actually sort of, it came down from planes, that's where the inspiration came from, and whilst it didn't add a whole lot to sort of braking performance, what they found out is it added to braking durability. So over a sort of, race like the Le Mans 24 Hours, the brakes didn't really fade as much as the previous sort of, drum brakes and things like that. So yeah, huge step forward. Very sort of simple design in terms of, body styling and things like that. I did mention earlier it's a sort of tool room recreation. Visually it is. I have learned though that apparently sort of under the skin there are a few things that would probably need to be tweaked or improved to get sort of, FIA papers to go and race in historic events, mainly in and around the suspension, but it's near as damn it as you can get to an original C-Type, except the badge. So apparently the Duncan Hamilton car, the 1953 car, didn't have a badge because it was a sort of, got in the way of the aero working, which I love. I love the badge, I think it's super cool, but it's actually sort of not period correct. So little details like this, which you might just need to sort of finesse if you actually had the original car here next to it. But everyone here at the Market by Bonhams is raging about the C-Type, saying that this is the one, once you get behind the wheel, that you're going to fall in love with. I would have thought that this was the car I was going to fall in love with, the D-Type, because just look at it. And now, as I mentioned, this is a Lynx car. The rear end actually fiberglass, so not a sort of aluminium body, which makes the really expensive or really desirable ones, as were the originals. But it looks the part, this thing, and it sounds amazing. Just everything about sort of what this car represents to me is really exciting. Dominant at Le Mans, won 3 victories back to back. Absolutely unbelievable. So cool to see these two next to each other. And I think first up we'll get behind the wheel of the C Type. Now, both of these cars
haven't been driven for a while, so I can't push on that much. We do need to blow off the cobweb, but also take it kind of easy. It's quite hard to take it easy though, because can you hear the soundtrack? It's so angry. Oh, the pops and bangs! Wow! Now obviously, way back in the 50s we've got space frame technology, so everything's moving around quite a lot. Oh, corners are interesting, as is the steering. The brakes are so impressive. I love it! I absolutely love it! Like with any old car, but especially any kind of racier older car, it needs to be revved up. God, these brakes are good. These can't be the brakes from the era. These must be modernised brakes. Right, let's open her up again. I'm shifting so early, but it's so good. The steering is an event. Oh, we caught up with a very slow moving Kia. Wow! This was not like today was for me all about the D Type. This is totally like blown me away. It's so raw, it's so animalistic, it's kind of basic, but it's amazing. It's a car you want to drive to the pub flat out. It's not happy going this slowly, I'll tell you that. It's not happy going this slowly. Thank God that Kia's gone, so. We'll head out of the village and go one more time. Oh, right, I am Duncan Hamilton. What an unbelievable experience. Absolutely mind-boggling. Now, I am embarrassed to admit, I forgot I have driven a D Type before. Another sort of recreation, actually more of a replica, I would say, down in Australia, right at the start of Drive the World. It shows how, well, just jaded I am that I forget some of the amazing cars I've driven. But anyway, I'm still equally as excited by this experience, especially after how incredible that C Type was. Now, obviously, back in the day, there were no seatbelts in these things. I'm quite glad that there are now, because as I say, it's all a bit intense. The thing which I've forgotten is how narrow the pedal box is in the D Type. Everything sort of shrinks down towards your feet because you've got this massive gearbox in the middle, and it means that, yeah, you can't really wear any kind of chunky shoes. I think I drove the D Type in Australia shoeless, but yeah, everything is definitely shrunk around you a lot more. The C Type felt bigger, more spacious. This immediately feels smaller and potentially more nimble, but because I'm sort of awkwardly tall, the steering wheel, well, does sort of touch my thighs or my knees, so everything about it is suddenly a little bit more race car-esque, basically uncomfortable. Race cars are never comfortable, and that's what this feels like, a little bit more of a challenge. Also, interesting one with the D Type is the gear lever is at a kind of angle, so rather than just being traditionally up and, you know, first, second, third, everything's kind of at a 45-degree angle, so you've got to really think about that. So I'm just going to try and just do some movements just in the car park here so that I know exactly what I'm doing, which I think I now do. And yeah, apart from that, Ollie, could I please have the key? That would be fantastic. Oh, it's an even angrier noise. I didn't think that was possible. The expectations are a lot higher, but that C Type did blow me away. So let's get used to this gearbox. It's a bit spluttery. Everything needs to be, yeah, okay, I need to press on a bit more, even more so than in the C Type. This car is not going to be happy going slowly. Wow. Okay, a bit more intense. Let's go for a gear change. I did it, sort of. Okay, everything is a lot more precise suddenly. It all feels a lot sharper, more serious, a little bit spluttery, a little bit more spluttery than the C Type. It's a completely different animal. Like a year or so later, and suddenly we've got a very different car in our hands. I've got stuck behind a highway maintenance truck, which is not ideal. But there you go, just through that corner, across those bumps, the C Type was really all over the place. This, whoa, immediately more hunkered down. Oh, bloody hell. Picked a very bad time to come on this road. Wow, wow, wow. That was a bit nerve-wracking. But yeah, the C Type was very enjoyable. This I'm more intimidated by, and I feel like I really need to concentrate more. It's also a little bit more spluttery. Maybe needs a tiny bit more TLC to be back at its finest, but the few times I have been able to open it up, it takes off. And the actual acceleration is a bit smoother. The way it rides the road, the way it turns in, you haven't got that kind of washiness anymore. I know why this thing was so dominant at Le Mans. This isn't even the real deal, but I'm getting a sense of what the real deal might have been, and yeah, it's... Let's see, come on, come on. Needs so many revs to get up and go. Come on, let's go D Type, yes! Take a corner. Oh, it can really take a corner. The brakes aren't quite as switched on as the C Type, which again makes me think, oh, it's going for an overtake. Wow. I did it. I did it, Mum. It was a sketchy overtake, but I did it. And that's what this car feels like it wants to do. Race.
I am one very sweaty man, mainly because it's quite muggy today, but secondly because those experiences were so exhilarating. I'm almost having a heart attack. I need to lie down. I am just so in love with the cars I've been experiencing today. Absolutely stunning. As I've said many times over, not what I expected. Honestly, the D Type, it is brilliant, it's amazing, but it's just so much. Whilst the C Type, I feel like you could cruise to the pub or to dinner with mates and just be cool, but then also go racing at Le Mans, because why not? It's just got everything. All it's made me realise is that I really want now a historical, a classic racing Jag. And the problem is, and I know all you're in the comments, you're going to be going, Sam, do it, this is your project car. Go and buy an old Jag and that'll be the thing. It's so hard because, okay, so these cars, for example, as we mentioned, going up for auction, the estimates of the C and the D Type, 120 to 180, 120 to 180,000 pounds. The E Type 90 to something well over 100. So it's an expensive game to play, even if you want to try and get in at a sort of grassroots level. These aren't original cars, they're still fantastic and they're still valuable. So it's sort of semi-depressing for me. It's like it's a realization that I know I want this, but I can't really have it. I want the Project 7, of course, which is like a modern version. But then when I spend time, I'm a mess. Anyway, an amazing experience. A huge thanks to the market. They've been amazing today. If you want to find out more about these cars, if you want to bid, you'll be fighting me. But I'll put a link to the listings for these cars below. Go check them out. But you might be able to see behind me, there's a ton of other stuff in here. A very nice C43 AMG went a couple of weeks ago that I was looking at as well. So yeah, they've always got interesting things here. But if you've liked this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and stay subscribed for plenty more videos to come.